As the Minister said, the Conservatives have given us a decade of austerity, a botched Brexit and Liz Truss. Taxes are the highest since the 1940s, but public services are starved of cash. Any extra over the last 3 years has fallen into the black hole of inflationary pressures. The settlement isn't enough to manage the pressures we're facing as an older, sicker population with higher inflationary pressures and people at risk of being homeless, just not being able to manage with the cost of living crisis. Councils are in a dire situation. They've done all the savings they can, rationalising and restructuring, increasing fees and charges, including council tax. They may scrape through this year, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, causing devastation in communities, and they've tried to protect. I know that some are relying on a change of UK government with an end to austerity, which may come too late, as a late election may come this year. But they're also planning 114 notices and bankruptcy if nothing changes for next year. And it's not just the councils here. 6 councils in England have filed for bankruptcy, and at least 6 others are considering. The autumn statement under Jeremy Hunt was the final nail in the coffin for councils, saying the UK government wanted a smaller public sector, even more productivity and efficiency. There is nothing left to give. The Prime Minister reiterated it recently, saying that benefits will again be under attack. As he said, he wants people to make working pay, but most people on benefits are working. Many people rely on benefits and public subsidies throughout their lives without realising whether it's child benefit, council tax reduction schemes, pension tax credit, farm payments, bus passes. They're all subsidies. And although we shouldn't be fighting over the crumbs, I will be asking the Minister to look at the funding formula again. Being in the bottom quartile over many years does have a cumulative impact, and I do question why Welsh Government using current data for younger people, but data that is over a decade old for older people, which it then impacts on spending for social health care. All data should be refreshed and up to date, and I asked the Minister if that could be looked at. Council tax used to be 24% of the budget, the rest came from governments. Now it's 30% of the budget. Less money from UK government to devolved governments in real terms equals less services and higher council taxes to close the gap. And councils are asking if the fire service levy could be shown separately to council tax, it would help them. If funding had kept pace with growth in the economy since 2010, the budget for Wales would be 3.5 billion higher. The amount Welsh Government can spend on capital projects such as buildings, roads and broadband is limited by the UK Government, and so is borrowing. Broadband and railway infrastructure is not devolved, and it's not fairly funded. But time and time again, money seems to be found down the back of the sofa for England, and without consequences for Wales. There needs to be greater transparency. I noticed that the Department for Transport recently published funding for London boroughs to resurface roads, thanks to redirected HS2 funding, saying it's part of the Network North Transport Plan. So where's the funding for Wales and our network? In Wales, we do need to be honest when there's no funding for roads. When it was decided to review building of some roads under climate change, saying that funding will go into maintenance of existing and public transport, we should be honest and say that there is no money from UK Government. We desperately need more money into HSG to prevent people becoming homeless. That is desperate. We need to be dealing with the climate and nature emergency. That's desperate. But we should not be fighting over crumbs of the budget for public services when it's too small to start with. We should be fighting for an end to 15 years of austerity and an end to cuts to public services.
Samuel